All right, look, we are live and people are starting to file in a minute early. Fantastic. Derek, how are you doing today, bud?
Doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. So what are your plans for Memorial Day?
Oh boy, we're gonna try to go camping. I don't strike people as the camping type, but do have a little bit of experience backpacking as a Marine. So there's part of me that still loves to get out there in the woods. I'm not really going to the camping in the woods though. I'm kind of cheating, I'm kind of doing the glamping thing on the lake with a really big tent and a cot and all that. But yeah, gonna get out there and get to see some nature. How about you?
My version of camping is at a Holiday Inn. I'm sorry, I'm not built like that. So what would you put it into this category? Hopefully everyone can see is we got people filing in. This is great. We had a huge response to this webinar, so we're gonna have a lot of people coming in. We see the poll up there. Okay, they're starting to fill out the poll. So what would you consider that camping? Are you staying put? Is it on the water? It's probably near water. It's not chores, and you're definitely not flying. I don't think you're flying. What would you consider? I would call that, yeah, you find me on the water. That's where you would be. All right, I got to vote for I'm staying put. I'm doing nothing this weekend.
It's almost that time of year to hit the water. It's a little iffy right now, at least where we are in North Carolina.
Fantastic. All right, it is a minute past. People are still filing in, which is great, but we have a lot of content to cover today. I'm super excited about this topic. The rise of AI in search, how it's reshaping SEO strategies. Looks like most people, what were the results of our poll? I didn't catch it before it closed. Are most people staying put? Catching up on chores. Yes. Okay. Everyone's boring like me. We're doing the same thing this weekend. All right. On to AI. Let's talk about it, how it's reshaping SEO strategies. I am Jeff from Coalmarch. If you don't know me, I'm the CEO of Coalmarch. We've been out, it feels like 10 years, but it's been about 2 months now, out from WorkWave. Fantastic. We're starting to bring you a lot of webinars. I think 2 a month is our target, which is a lot of content. This one by far had the most positive response. So we're very, very excited about this. With me, I have Derek Cummings. He is our resident AI expert, our SEO team lead strategist. It's a big title. I can't get all of that in there. 3 years with Coalmarch, 15 years in marketing. Before that, he was a Marine, a janitor, a cable guy, entrepreneur, owned his own thing. He's done it all. Derek has absolutely done it all, and I'm very happy to have him with us today. Derek, thanks for joining us. Thanks for leading this conversation. I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. As you heard, my name is Derek. I am the lead SEO strategist here at Coalmarch. Got to do a lot of the fun stuff like playing with artificial intelligence. I do own and oversee a lot of our bigger clients, and I own our team's hard skill development. It's really I get to do the fun stuff, and this is no exception. I'm really excited to be here talking to you guys today about a topic that I really enjoy. So I just want to dive right into it so we have time for questions. So today we have a little bit of an agenda. And during this presentation, if you have any questions or just want to let us know what you're thinking in chat, please feel free to do so. But yeah, I mean, search is changing really fast right now, as everyone kind of knows and can see if they're doing any searches. But as you see later, those who invest early in SEO and are willing to kind of adapt right now will benefit the most in the future of a conversational search. So if you're not sure what any of this means, don't worry. Just kind of hang tight. We're going to break it all down for you as we go. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start by defining some key terminology so we can kind of be on the same page. We're going to talk about how search is changing, of course. We're also going to emphasize your website's role in all of this. We're going to talk about how AI searches typically work. That way we have context into how we can optimize for those changes. We're going to talk about the future implications of all of this and why you need to act now. So a lot of good stuff coming. Overall, my goals for today, educate you, of course, on how organic search is changing, provide some actionable tips to increase visibility for AI, challenge you to think differently about the future of search, and of course, answer your questions and have a little fun with Jeff. So we're going to move into a poll right here.
All right. So audience question here. Have you used AI tools, Search GPT, Claude, Gemini, to find a business other than your own? Oh, man. This is like a horse race. You all know I'm from Kentucky, so I view these things in horse racing terms, right? We're neck and neck coming down to the wire.
So we're not talking about Google's AI overviews. We're talking about using a tool, an AI tool like ChatGPT or
Derek,
Claude.
I gotta I'm gonna have an admission of guilt here. I made a switch to ChatGPT as my default search engine the other day and immediately changed it back.
That's interesting to hear.
All right. Well, this is interesting. Okay, let's close it. 79% have used it. So that's an interesting consumer behavior right there.
It is. I often wonder if it's, us marketers testing these products, or if like the typical homeowner would view these as, more so a replacement for search or not, or if they're just having kind of fun using them in their day-to-day. But cool. As far as terminology, let's dive right into that. You're going to hear LLM a lot. I feel like probably most of you already know what this is. But LLMs are large language models, and these are systems that are trained on a variety of really massive data sets of different media like text, images, audio, video, and code to really just understand and generate human-like responses. So really they're the backbone of AI systems. If AI was a person, you can kind of think of these as the part of the brain that doesn't involve memory, like the autonomic nervous system, I like to call it. Different tools, such as ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, we just talked about, different tools are trained on different data sets, and they're trained at different intervals. Each one of these models has its own LLM trained at different times. So like ChatGPT, the last time that was trained was in June 2024. Claude was recently changed in October of 2024. And Gemini claims that they're updated more frequently, but they don't tell us when they were updated. But very, very, very important, as you'll see later, the LLMs. You're going to hear RAG every now and then. This is called, this is short for retrieval augmented generation. Ugh. But if AI was a person, you can think of this kind of as its memory, or sort of like where the information comes from that your memory learns on. This can be like apps typically. Usually it's websites though, but it really can be anything. It could even be your calendar, depending on the method of which the RAG is utilized under what context. So for search, this is typically a search engine index like Google or Bing's index, depending on the tool, of course. ChatGPT, they look at Bing. Claude uses a third party that a lot of people haven't heard of this, but it's called Brave Search. It's a community-driven search engine. So that's pretty interesting because it may give different results. And then, of course, Gemini uses Google. So AI overviews, which is what you're all commonly used to seeing in search right now, that uses a custom version of Gemini. Interestingly enough, it is the only AI right now that uses RAG every single time it does a search. So it's always looking at some type of index. So that's very interesting and important to know later. You might hear vectorizing. This is a little complicated, but it's the process of kind of fanning out searches by converting data into numbers in this like hyper-dimensional space where it can really understand the search as it relates to other searches and really just the semantic meaning behind what you're asking it and the relationships to other data outside of just traditional search entities and related keywords that Google's traditionally been built on. So if AI was a person, you can kind of think of this as that smart friend of yours that can finish your sentences, because what it essentially does is it extracts the real meaning of what you're asking and it kind of anticipates the full intent of what you're asking the AI to do. So it's very smart. It's a big part of why search is changing. And in fact, Google is kind of reworking its AI algorithms and its entire search algorithms from the ground up based on a lot of this technology. Share of voice, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this. It measures the brand's visibility and awareness within a specific channel. We're talking mostly about organic search in this presentation, compared to competitors, or really just quantifying how much conversation presence a brand has in relation to the rest of the market. You can kind of think of this as primarily brand mentions and engagement, but also a good way of thinking about it is kind of the effect that display advertising has on your brand visibility. Very important. All right, so let's dive into the fun stuff.
Hold on, Derek. Let me real quick. So this morning, going through your deck and looking at everything, I had to take a spin with it myself, and I actually went to ChatGPT to explain some of these very complex topics. I know LLM, That's one, and bring it down. The way that it worked in my brain, and let me tell me if I'm on the right path here.
Yeah.
RAG is kind of looking at it as like Google plus ChatGPT. It's basically using search. Does that sound right? Vectorizing is kind of translating it for the AI. It's like putting it into its own language of numbers. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair.
Okay. And share of voice, really, we're talking about your market awareness, and that's probably how Reddit always somehow gets into search results at some point in time. And anyway, I'm sure you're going to touch into that, but I just want to make sure that my brain was thinking in the right way here.
You got it. I love how you use AI to break it down.
It's not cheating anymore. It's always open on my desktop.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, so we're gonna have another poll here before we get started. Want to leave that, Jeff?
Yeah. Have your search queries gotten longer and more detailed? Interesting. I know I'm 100% yes on this one.
Me
Absolutely. I write paragraphs now, especially when I'm using one of the LLMs that's out there. It looks like this horse race is going. Most people, yes, they're writing a lot more now.
Are you guys also doing that? And like Jeff, are you asking? You're not typing paragraphs into Google search, are you? Or are you talking more so about ChatGPT?
ChatGPT is where those searches come into play for sure. Yeah, and Google searches, no, but they are longer than they used to be. So maybe, Derek, can you give us an example of a long search that maybe is going on today that versus what people would have used?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for example, a lot of times people, I think over time, people just learned how to search to appease the search engine. They would search for local SEO, maybe it's a topic and then a city, like for example, pest control Raleigh. Doesn't really sound that natural, but people knew that was going to give them the results that they're looking for. But now, like more people, I know myself included, I'm more apt to try, hey, give me the best pest control services in Raleigh for the best price, something like that.
It was a good segue here. Richard actually said in the chat, he said he no longer types a search, he just talks. Yeah, we're getting that way too.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about talking a little bit more.
All right. Excellent.
Cool. Thank you. All right, so we're going to lead with some statistics just to kind of show you where we're going with this and the why. Google search grew by 22% in 2024, which is pretty impressive considering how large it's been. And it's maintained a 93.57% market share. That's just absolutely dominating. ChatGPT only accounted for 0.25%. And interestingly enough, competing tools like Claude actually outgrew and outpacing ChatGPT last quarter. So I personally think a lot of the traffic growth that ChatGPT has been seeing has likely been people like you and I experimenting with the latest AI tools versus any type of major shift in search to another platform. Because I think in short, yes, people do love to try apps and it's always been that way, but generally people don't tend to change search engines. And that's kind of what we're seeing. We're not seeing any major traffic for or leads coming from that traffic from AI tools. Even Apple Intelligence recently added Gemini as an option. So like, I don't think Search GPT or Chat GPT is really going to be pushed as much as people think it is. And also surveys have been showing that people really care about the accuracy of search. There's been a lot of surveys that have gone around. People, like Jeff said earlier, Jeff was playing with Search GPT and kind of just switched. Google, this is where Google shines. This is why Google's great for searching for anything from medical advice to like literally everything. Their algorithm is really great. So it's where they shine. But there's a catch with this. The catch is 60% of Google searches ended without a click. And this is highly relevant to this whole presentation, but really I just wanted to show why we're focusing mostly on Google for this presentation versus other tools. So when we talk about AI, we're really just talking about AI in Google search for now. Ultimately, this is where we see homeowners continuing to search for pest and lawn services. Even with the DOJ ruling against Google, the reality is they're going to appeal this, and it's going to be many years before this market share really is impacted. So there's a little bit of context there about why we're focusing on Google. All right, this is where it gets fun. Okay, so who remembers seeing this? This definitely plays into voice searches, because I know personally in the past when I have ever tried to do a voice search on Google, I'm always seeing, I'm sorry, like we can't, we don't have any results. So this is something that used to happen a lot. And personally, I kind of feel like this is why voice search never really fully took off. I think people just weren't getting the results they wanted. I think Siri said it best when they said, "Sorry, I don't quite understand that." It happens a lot. It happens even today. But I think we're at a pivotal time now where these search engines can actually understand and vectorize what we talked about earlier. They can really understand what you're asking. And if you want to look at that exact same search, how do I get rid of brown ants in my kitchen without using chemicals? You want to look at that search today. You actually get something for it. And not only do you get something, but you get the exact answer that you're looking for. No fluff, no need to drill down and do more research. You have the answer right in front of you. If you need more details, you click the more button and you can see more details. So yeah, it gets right to the answer. And that is really something that people are looking for.
Now, Derek, at the top where it says AI overview, that's Gemini, right? That is Google's Gemini product that they have put into their search in their browser.
Yep, it is. And we'll talk about exactly what's happening behind the scenes and how you can increase your visibility here as we move forward. Okay, so what's going on? I mean, people are asking detailed questions. And if they're not, they're going to be. We need to answer them. As confidence in longer searches increases, we're also going to see them increase in complexity. Interestingly, millennials and Gen Z, they're more likely to support brands that align with their values, such as sustainability, social responsibility, transparency, all these things. So really, ultimately, we want to ensure that we're doubling down on our service details, including, for example, price, frequently asked questions, and really putting your company's unique value front and center. Now is not the time to skimp out on content and use really bad AI content on your website. You really want to make sure there's depth and you really want to think it through. Yeah, very, very important. I feel like this is the number one thing that's changing in search is just the fact that people are now more willing to search more complex things, and they're really, getting nitty gritty with what their expectations are. Okay, so this isn't going away. So they got to expand from here. And in this example, you can see that AI overviews isn't just something that can pop up for an informational query. It can also come for a local service query, such as this one. This is, in fact, a hyper-local query. This is for an example for exterminator near me. And this is, of course, a pest control example. And we also have examples for lawn care. But if you remember what this search would have been even just a few months ago, you would have almost always seen a 3-pack of Mac results. But now at the very top, you see an AI overview.
So one of the notes that we had in the chat from Chris, who says Gemini is working great for his searches. I agree. It really is. And it was just a matter of time before Google figured out that they could incorporate their own AI into the top. And yeah, it's interesting to see how we're going to play into that. So keep going, Derek, not to interrupt.
Yeah, people talk about the first mover advantage, and sometimes failing is actually an advantage too, because you get to fix it first. And I think that's what we're seeing. Here's a more detailed search of a customer interested in pest control companies that support veterans. So this is an example of somebody probing a little bit further because they're building trust in Gemini, and they know that they can find specifics. So this gives us a list of veteran-owned companies and provides their exact discounts. In the past, people just probably would have gone directly to id.me or search individual sites for this kind of information. So ultimately, if you don't have these discounts on your website, then of course you wouldn't be included in this list. Here's a lawn care example. When users think about, for example, what's the best, they're kind of interested in quality, like reviews, mass customization, proof of that a service is backed up by a guarantee. Those are things that quality companies do, and Google knew that. So they showed us exactly what we were looking for here. An interesting note is that Triangle Lawn Care, they do have their guarantee front and center. It's even in their meta titles, as well as in their content, and Google is able to pick up on that and put it here in the AI review. So that's a great example of having your unique value front and center. Here's a more detailed search for a customer interested in organic lawn treatments. I think we're seeing a lot of people, increased interest in organics over the years. You can note here that environmental stewardship is mentioned by Lawn Doctor. Clean air, lawn care's dedication to sustainability is also mentioned. So these are like related concepts that Google understands is probably important to somebody who's interested in organic lawn treatments.
All right, poll time. Time to give you a break, Derek. Have you been keeping an eye on your blog traffic this year? That's interesting. That's interesting. And this is a leading question, Derek. We've got to be going somewhere with this one.
We're definitely going somewhere with this one.
I know we're watching our blog traffic. Uh-oh, we don't have a lot of blogs on here. All right, let's see how everyone goes. So we do have an interesting thought. One of the comments in here was on search engine results page SERP, and how is AI competing, or is AI competing with paid ads right now? I think you're going to get to that here in a little while, but just to kind of put a bug in your ear as we let the blog traffic come in. Looks like this group doesn't think blogs are all that important, Derek.
Huh? Okay, that's interesting. I do feel like that's something that we're definitely seeing. We're seeing blogs receive less traffic in general. Google does claim that more eyes are going to be on your content, and that in theory that could result in more clicks, but it's not really what we're seeing. But I was more so just curious if anyone was measuring those differences year over year. Good to know.
I will say this: we've got over 40% that are watching. It's either dropped or up, but they're definitely watching the traffic, and 25% are seeing traffic up right now. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Interesting. Oh, so yeah, speaking of ads, so looking at this same SERP, as we move further down the page, guess what Google shows us next? Paid results. It's only a matter of time before these get into the AI reviews themselves. I'm really not talking about ads in this webinar, but it's important to note that, yes, there are still ads. They're still there, and they are next on this same search engine results page. Further down that page, we have a featured snippet, followed by people also ask. So a lot of direct answers still, kind of the same thing. Further down, we have videos. So if you remember, the initial query was how to remove brown ants naturally without chemicals. So Google's done a fairly good job here of surfacing helpful content of different varieties, which is kind of a theme that we're seeing. It's just a shift that's happening as far as what people expect to see and what they kind of media like to consume. And short form video is definitely something that people like. And look at all those videos in there, and the reel there are pretty short. They probably get right to the point, which I think is really interesting.
I think my wife would disagree with me, Derek, but between YouTube videos and ChatGPT, I feel like I can do anything in the house. And I've only broken a couple things. It's not that big of a deal. She may argue with that, but even I've come around to the videos, and I'm a laggard. So if I've come around to the videos, then the videos are popular.
And last but not least, the one everyone's been waiting for, the first organic results, true organic websites. Unfortunately, the first two of these are social media sites. So really, we have to get through all of these different types of content before we actually get to the first true organic informational kind of blog post. Pretty crazy. Ironically, if you remember the first slide, this particular company, Better Homes and Gardens, was also the one that was mentioned first in the AI review. So big theme here is, well, we kind of need to be in the AI reviews. People don't want to sift through endless website content anymore. They want quick answers. They want short-term videos. Google knows this. They're reacted to this shift, as we can see here. And we're continuing to see more social and search and more zero-click search features pushing down our websites. So yeah, I mean, AI reviews is where it's at. Like, if you want to regain your brand visibility, we have to figure out how to be in that overview. Interestingly, or a hint for future slides here, your website is the primary data source for AI overviews, and it will be in the future. This is the same thing as your website is the primary data source that your Google business profile looks at. None of this works without having a data source that's accurate. All right, so what's coming in search? We talked about the current state of affairs, but I think what most people would be interested in here is what's coming and how we can be proactive so we don't get left in the dust, right? AI mode. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I believe it was on was it Wednesday? just yesterday, might have been Tuesday, I can't remember, but it was early this week. AI mode rolled out for all US users. I don't know if anyone else was testing. Were you testing this, Jeff, on your end?
I'm looking at a search right now to see if it's there, and it's not there for me. Maybe see they know that I'm a laggard. They're not going to give it to me.
If you're using your Google Workspace account, you will not see this. You'll need to be logged in with a personal account. Google's always slow at rolling out features to Google Workspace for one reason or another. But this rolled out for all US users with a personal Google account this week. And before long, it's honestly it's going to become the default search experience. So let's go into how it works because it's very interesting. All right, the features of AI mode. So really, this is Google solving that problem of follow-up questions. As right now, it does a pretty good job of generating those summaries. But the problem is you can't really ask it a question like you can in ChatGPT. You can't have a conversation and probe further as easy as it used to be. I don't know if anyone remembers the search generative experience, the one that we talked about earlier that failed. That was kind of doing the job, but it just wasn't there yet. But this is an improved version of that. And it's pretty amazing. So it has a chat interface similar to ChatGPT if you're used to that. But the difference is it does 10 RAG searches all at once immediately. It really just probes the internet in its search index for really helpful data. But Google's going to expand upon this. It's not going to just be like a standard chat interface. It's going to have text, image support, video support. Right now, I believe it's only text and voice, the basics. But it's coming. It's moving along fast. Another really cool feature that's really this is the definition of multi-modal search. You're going to be able to do real-time visual and audio searches. You can think of this as if you were doing a video call with Google Search itself. If Google searches a person, you're calling them up on the phone and having a conversation. For example, let's say you're in the house and you see a bug. You're not sure what kind of bug it is. You can pull up what you might have used in the past is Google Lens, and maybe this time you're just pulling up AI mode and you're identifying what bug that is. And if it's something that's a little bit dangerous and can spread, like a roach or something like that, then maybe you're looking for an exterminator, and that's your follow-up question. You just simply in that call you ask for, hey, what's an exterminator that's available right now or in my area? Something like that. It could also be like a lawn disease and recommending a pet-friendly service. Really, the possibilities are endless. But it's really cool because Google has awesome image search as a product. Like their image search is revolutionary. It's way better than anything else out there. And this just builds upon what they've already built. And I think as we move on, you'll see Google's infrastructure is really why they're going to succeed with Gemini. The other cool thing is it can use your data. Google has a ton of data on us, and you'll be able to opt in to kind of give them more access. But really, it's a way to make the AI experience your own, which will increase its helpfulness, especially when it comes to future integrations with your entire Google Workspace. And the cool thing about Gemini is it has the largest context window in the ecosystem of AI apps. So it really can remember a lot about you and apply it every single time. So it's a real advantage that Google has. They have text-based generative features built in. So just like in ChatGPT, where you can have it summarize results or just write you an email or write you even a blog post. You can really just do anything generative text-based with it. This is something that's available right now, but they're going to expand it also into to other spaces and other tools, which will be really exciting. I can expect this to be integrated with Google Apps for sure. Google Workspace will just definitely be integrated in this. You're going to be able to send emails, create documents, et cetera, et cetera. But the coolest and most exciting part is the agentic features. And by agentic, I mean agent. It's essentially the difference between an agent and traditional AI search is that it's a lot of human work that goes into an AI search. You still need to really be in the driver's seat. But this feature allows the AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting and do a lot of the searching and manual work based off from your preferences and your data. Right now, it's rolling out for products, and what it can do currently is it can research and make purchases for you using your data, such as like your address in Chrome, your Google Wallet, your search history, that kind of thing. But it won't be long before this is expanded upon to be used in assistants like Siri. Like we mentioned earlier, like Apple Intelligence can use Gemini now. I think this, at the end of the day, devices are going to be able to use this technology. So it's recommended that you start thinking about adding things like instant booking features to your website, because these agents are going to be able to actually do that scheduling. I talked earlier about how image search could potentially spike somebody to look for a lawn care company that's pet friendly, right? Like you're going to be able to ask it then to go and find a company that's available for same day service and have it book instantly for you. Without having any integration. So you're not going to need a special integration with a particular service that Google has. It just acts as if it's a user. So it doesn't really matter what booking software you have on your site. It just pretends it's you. It goes to these sites and it can book the services for you. So it's really the future, and it's really exciting.
So Derek, that's a lot of information there, especially 5 points from Google and how their AI mode is kind of taking over. That the funny thing, just an observation from me, not really a question, but it felt like Google was late to the game in commercializing Gemini and their AI products. It seems like they were just very methodic about how they were going to do it, and their plan of attack is almost comprehensive now, where they're going to be everywhere, which is really interesting from an SEO, from a website perspective. One of the questions, not to completely plug us at Coalmarch, but it is a Coalmarch webinar, right? We had a question over here, we're rebuilding a website. Is this technology incorporated into the design? I don't think it's really about the technology being incorporated into the design. It's really about how our design is being produced to be consumed by the technology. Is that fair to say?
100%. Yeah, it's all about making it structured in a way that it's easy for the technology to understand. I mean, Google's been telling us optimize your site for users for years, but what does that actually mean? It come to find out, if we were roughly listening to them, we think we'd be in a good place right now, because, but yeah, like if you're thinking about the user and what's best for the user, you're also thinking about these AI agents and making their job easy.
That's great. That's a good question, Patrick. It really is. And yes, to answer your question in short, we are very much thinking about this. In fact, we're consuming ourselves with it and even presenting on it, because this is pretty much all Derek and I talk about is AI and how it moves forward. So, okay, not to steal your thunder, Derek, we've still got more content. Keep going.
No problem. I just want to show some samples of AI mode here so we can talk about it. Here you can see an example, a query for pest control Raleigh. This is a standard query. I choose a long tail one for this. But you can see like Gemini is summarizing positive sentiment. So it's really a big part of what the AI is trained on. A lot of these AI, a lot of the LLMs were trained on major aggregator sites, and those aggregator sites were aggregating reviews for local services, where the overall review score was important. So part of them, they're always looking for positive sentiment. And plus, it makes sense. Like obviously, customers are going to want to find brands that have good reviews. So definitely, it's going to be a big part of this. Here is a follow-up query, just kind of thinking about where the search might go. Like maybe at this point, I'm looking for a company that's near me to narrow things down. It appears that Google still recommended the same businesses that were originally here in the first slide. So what that tells me is nothing is changing as far as proximity to the searcher. It's still going to be a big factor. You're going to need to have offices near your customers to do the best that you can in search. That is not changing. But hypothetically, maybe I also happen to need lawn care, or I have a turf insect problem, and I just want to work with one company. I don't want to have to contact multiple companies. So the next search is, well, do any of these companies do lawn care? And it's interesting because AI really came through with this. I didn't need to visit each site individually. So the key takeaway here is the AI won't know all of your secondary services unless it's mentioned in the content. So you definitely need to make sure that content is thorough, and that at least if you're looking for something very actionable, making sure your homepage and about pages have all of your services on them, because these LLMs, they do have limited resources and comparing to Google. They're not going to crawl every single page and every single site. They look at more specific things. Google will have a better index, of course, but overall, just really trying to make sure that you have all of your services. If, for example, if you had both pest and lawn services, you're a multi-industry client, but you had two separate websites as a strategy, which I'm not saying is a bad strategy. It is a great strategy, but AI might be able to make this connection just simply by interlinking those sites, or the fact that your brand has two sites. You would need to list that content on both of your websites, kind of cross-selling basically. So yeah, but the next step in this evolution is the ability to book directly, which isn't available yet, but it will be in the future via that AI agents feature. All right, so I don't know if there's any questions on that, but I wanted to kind of shift into how it works so we can get some actionables.
So well, maybe I've got a question here, Derek. So if I'm looking at the search, this is great for consumers. I mean, from a consumer standpoint, I look at this as a homeowner, fantastic. Like it saves me a lot of time, a lot of hassle. I don't have to do my own research. I'm kind of letting the AI do it. It seems to me like from the way that it is being consumed from the Google standpoint, we're not talking about Ask Jeeves anymore. Those days are done. We're only looking at Google. Ask Jeeves. We date ourselves with that one, don't we? So we're looking at Google. It seems to me like most SEO, SEM strategies are pretty much the same when it comes to this, because they're still consuming from the same points. We really haven't changed strategy just yet. Is that true, or do you think, are we starting to shift our strategy a little bit more?
I mean, the backbone of it is SEO. If you've been doing great SEO, then you're in the right place for the most part. We can get real technical into the details of that, but I won't. But I mean, as long as you've been doing basic SEO, you're halfway there. But there are definitely little adjustments that can be made that we'll talk a little bit about.
Excellent. Maybe we do that follow up on a podcast or another webinar. We just call it the nerd hour, and we get into AI. Just
I like that.
dive. Yeah, we could do that. All right, we'll line that one up, Katie. We'll do that next.
All right, so I figured it made sense to break these down a little bit into like kind of what's happening and then what to do, right? So I think a good way of looking at this is to think of an analogy. So dating ourselves again, in a library before the internet, there used to be that you had to use specific terms and categories to find information. But kind of what's changing now is we kind of have the equivalent of that librarian who already has this information, who can interpret vague or nuanced requests and then deliver relevant information to us without having to master that library card catalog system, which was the bane of my existence. So yeah, like I've mentioned earlier, vectorization, they are trying to figure out what people are searching. It's interpreting what you're putting in there fully. So it can understand natural language and process it. In a sense, what's actually happening too is like us, the users that are creating these searches, are powering the machine learnings systems that can adjust in real time and really just make sure that the right answer is shown. I know Google made some mistakes early on, and now if there's a mistake, it can adapt. So that's kind of the takeaway here. So yeah, searches are getting more complex, but that's a good thing because we can capitalize on those. For example, if someone searches for how to get rid of X using a certain method or something like this, it might surface both informational content, but also might surface transactional content because Google understands that there's kind of a mixed intent nature behind that search. Maybe you're looking to get rid of a pest, but at the end of the day, you don't want to deal with what's required, everything from exclusion to repairs or whatever. Like you maybe just want to hire a company. So it knows that, and it will show relevant businesses. So what's the opportunity there? It's about having that in-depth content, like I mentioned earlier. If you don't have the content there, that's the first step. You have to have the content. Your content needs to be optimized for humans versus search engines. Like, what are people asking, anticipating those questions, zeroing in on that search intent, providing important details about those services, everything from price to values, because people are going to ask, those follow-up questions are going to be price, they're going to be what's the value, or they're looking for a unique value. So really, when I say anticipating what people are searching, it's very important. And then making sure you have that content in a way that's skimmable and digestible, not just paragraphs after paragraphs, like really thinking about the user, maybe just having a few lines before you, another few lines, breaking it up a little bit in a way that makes sense. Make sure there's context there, like semantic cues, these kind of things. But also, one thing that's going to happen is content's going to get more competitive. People are really going to have a lot of, because it's easy to generate content right now. Let's be real. It's easy to generate poor content. And I think we're seeing a lot of our competitors do that. They're just generating really bad content. But what's going to make a difference is if you can really make the content more helpful for the user, and you can really show them your expertise, such as like real world experiences. And if you can do that, if you can really put your unique value out there, and you can really double down on showing your unique expertise, then it makes it harder for competitors to copy that content to you, which is another benefit. So if you're looking for one actionable thing you could do with your content right now, whether it be a blog post or whether it be a service, if you could just add frequently asked questions to your site, and of course, with good SEO, hopefully you have the schema code in the back end for those FAQs. I won't go into that, but like this is just doubling down on good SEO. That is one thing you can do to really add that depth in a question answer format that will be great for the AI. The other thing that's happening, okay, so we have the question, it's been processed. How do we get the results, right? So what everyone wants to know. Well, it's important to note that, and I think this is very confusing in the industry right now. If you do a search on ChatGPT, even Search GPT for that matter, or any other AI tool for that matter, it's not actually visiting the website, at least not by default. It's not visiting these sites in real time and extracting information unless you ask it to do so in deep research mode. It's really just looking at the index for that search engine, the content that it already has indexed. An interesting fact is that Google rankings have a strong 65% correlation with AI visibility on average. Bing is a little bit less at 50%, but it's because they are looking at the search index. But basically what happens is the LLM training data we talked about earlier, that's being combined with chunks of this search engine data, and it's trying to make a determination of what to show based off from both of those things. So what can we do about this? Well, the LLMs are trained on data from authoritative sources. This makes sense because if you're trying to figure out what's accurate, which is obviously top of mind for these, especially for Google because of their past failures, accuracy is very, very important, and Google knows that accuracy from surveys is really important. So looking at authoritative sources because these are trustworthy sources, right? So the holy grail would be to find out how we can be in that training data. How do we get mentions, whether it be a link or just a brand mention of our company on these authoritative sources that the LLMs are being trained on? That's the holy grail. If we can do that, then we're always going to be preferenced in the output. It's not everything, but it's a big part of it. What's interesting about this is links are still important. These LLMs, they'll still crawl the internet. But even if you just get a mention without a link, someone just mentioning your company, they never link back to your website, the LLM can still count that. So if you know anything about backlinks, you can almost think of a brand mention as a backlink when it comes to AI, which is really great for your company. If you've been doing a lot of branding and a lot of partnering with the community, and if you're doing anything like that in the past, you're probably already ahead of the game. So yes, one actual thing that you can do is try to go out there and build mentions of your brand. That means it could be getting out there on social sites like we saw Reddit and Quora out there. Just really trying to figure out where your users are, and you can use social listening tools to do that. Once you know where your users are, you just try to get out there. It's a big one. Another actionable thing that's very highly related to this is pushing reviews, because as we saw, AI mode loves brands with positive sentiment. But a lot of these authoritative aggregator sites I talked about, like the Yelps and the Trust, for example, Home Advisor, Angie, a lot of these sites that aggregate reviews and aggregate companies in a market, a lot of them look at reviews, the total review counts, total the review scores, these kind of things. as determinations of like listing your company from the get-go. So by simply pushing reviews, you can actually get on these sites that are being crawled regularly by the LLMs. At the same time, generating reviews will also help you on Google Maps and AI mode, because AI mode looks at those reviews directly from Google Maps. So there's really some synergy there. If you push reviews, you could have, for one, better reviews, and two, better chance of being mentioned on the sites that are being crawled by the LLM.
All right, Derek, hold on. Before you move off of that one, I've got a question. This is a question for the audience. I know we're down to about 15 minutes, so if you've got questions, make sure to put them in the chat. But I have a question for you guys. What type of review products are you using? Are you using a review product, and what type are you using? Are you using Applause? That's not a plug, but I do love those guys. What are you using out there? That's the number one thing that I've seen over and over, Derek. When I talk to clients, they'll talk about we can't get leads. We're not getting the lead gen. And then you go to the Google reviews and you see 2 stars and you wonder, like, yeah, your people are busy. I'm not going to call somebody that's got 2 stars. Of course I want more. So there are tools out there. So I'm just curious about that. We had another comment on here from Chris that says he creates at least 25 pieces of new content a week, the majority of them videos. That's a brave new world. And that's a good strategy. Flood the zone, right? Flood the zone.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting. All right. So I'll check back with you. You can keep moving along. I've got about 14 minutes left. We'll figure out what people are using here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, Chris, that you're doing that. I feel like until like one of the actual things you can do is kind of build on rented ground, basically. Until you can dominate the AI reviews, if you can do those short-term videos on another platform where you're getting traction, then that'll help you exponentially as time goes on. So I really want to talk about future predictions. So what's the end game with all this? Why are we even having this conversation? Obviously, it's to be in AI reviews, but like, what's going on? What's shifting really? And to me, it's a mind shift. It's a mind shift away from traffic as the primary KPI for organic search. And it's about share of voice and ultimately lead generation. With the rise of zero-click, especially in the wake of AI mode, as we just saw, we can expect to continue to see website sessions fall. Or if they're up, it's because an agent's going to the site. It's not the user. But ultimately, there's just going to be less traffic going to websites, especially for that top of the funnel content for blogs. So this is definitely a shift that we have to consider. We have to consider that, hey, traffic may be down, but people may be mentioning our brand more, and we're getting more eyes on our brand, and our leads aren't going down. So the fact that traffic is down isn't necessarily a problem. And I just want to make a side note and to reiterate, we have to remember that the website still plays an important role in all this. Even though it's not directly getting traffic, it is still a major data source and the major data source for all of this. I don't know if everyone's heard of the rule of 7. I like to mention this because it does play into this entire thing. The saying is that it takes about 7 interactions statistically with a brand before a purchase decision is made. And of course, you can make those interactions positive with digital PR, which is important. And if you do marketing to different channels, like, it will have that snowball effect over time by creating brand awareness and helping SEO and AIO ultimately. So it's okay to not get traffic, and it's okay to not get links as long as your brand is being visible. So really, that's what we want to work on. And again, I mentioned social listening as a way to get started on this. You can use something like Google Alerts about your brand to get an idea of how many times people are mentioning your brand, just to kind of get a quick gauge of that. I think Jeff will probably love to talk about this. I know we don't have too much time left, but basically, I think the end game here is devices. At the end of the day, if our device if we can really trust it to do everything, and that app has all the data in the world on us, it's going to be able to do everything for us in a way that's accurate. It's going to have our purchase history. It's going to have our preferences. It's going to have our favorite apps. And these AI agents are going to be able to do all the heavy lifting in our day-to-day by voice. You're not even going to need to go to google.com. You're just going to be able to ask Siri, who's powered by Google. So to me, this is really the most important thing. So again, having those integrations on your site, having the content there to back up what people are asking, those are all really important things in the grand scheme of things in the future. I'm curious what Jeff's thoughts are on this.
I mean, as an ex-data engineer in the telecom world, I've been seeing this coming since 2003. Now, we didn't quite see AI coming like it did, but device ruling your world, absolutely. Actually, is the way you've got this statement written, it's kind of terrifying and exciting at the same time. That's possible, right? Those are not mutually exclusive. So yeah, I am. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens, especially with the competing products. Like you mentioned, Siri and Google. Well, that's Apple and Google. They're not really playing together all that much yet. But how does Gemini come into play in the Google search and the Android world? Apple's we haven't discussed any Apple AI. They're not kind of there. And where does Grok fit in? There are a lot of, it's the Wild West, and it's gonna be fun to see how it plays out, and a little bit scary. And I guess we'll just cross our fingers and hope for the best, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the good news is that, if you've been investing in SEO and you've been investing in your website and their content and doing the right things, creating packages for your businesses and putting the pricing front and center, thinking about integrations to help your customers can instant book. Like, I feel like most of the industries, this is the direction they've been going in anyway. So I feel like most of our clients would probably be already right where they need to be. We've at Comarch have been doing a lot of work as far as schema code in the back end to work with AI and thinking about these things for a long time. So I really just say at this point, if you're not doing these things, you do need to act now. Why? Because if you don't, your competitors will. Because remember, these LLMs, these are only trained every so often. So you want to make sure that your data is optimized before the next time that those LLMs are trained. If you're talking about links, we talked about how links were still powering the web, right? And those kind of things take time to take effect. And in the end of the day, if there's a lot of content that exists on the internet, obviously the depth of content is important. I've already mentioned that a million times. But outside of just content depth, it's really going to be about engagement. And this isn't just for text-based content. This is also for social content. We already saw more social in search, right? But unlike traditional search, where backlinks are a huge factor in those rankings, people don't really link to videos all that often. So when it comes to those short-term videos, that kind of thing, like, you really need to show engagement. And if you're trying to build engagement on social media, anyone who's trying to do that will tell you it takes a very long time. So brands that start now thinking about engagement, sharing their blog articles on social media, that kind of thing, are going to be ahead of the game over those who are just starting now. So yeah, definitely don't delay implementing any of this stuff.
There are really quick, Derek, before we move on to this one. This is fantastic information. These are the actions, right? This is what we have to do to stay ahead of the game, what we're doing with our clients and what everyone needs to do. A couple comments in here. I think Richard had a really good insight. Website is basically a database for capturing share of voice, going back, like tying it back to the original of the meeting. I think that's 100% true. And Cindy caught me. I just did misspeak a minute ago. Siri is AI. Totally right. What I meant was LLM. And let me give you a good personal example on this. We don't have anyone doing HVAC on the call, right? I think we're all green and pest on the call. I don't want to insult any of our HVAC friends. But I had an issue going on for a month. My AC was kicking on and off. I'd spent a lot of money and time, and my poor HVAC guy was over here all the time trying to fix it. And finally, I went to ChatGPT and I asked what it was, and it turns out it was my Nest. And a $15 clearance stat saved the day for me. Fixed it overnight, and now we're good. It was the Nest going in and off, and that was ChatGPT that gave me that answer. When Siri can give me that answer, we're really cooking, because now I'm doing it mobile and I'm beside HVAC asking it, hey, what's going on? Listen to this. I am excited, just like Richard. I'm excited for that day. That'll be fun.
Yeah, imagine pulling out your phone in AI mode and just showing it your HVAC system.
And then the key for our clients here, let's say if we're doing that, we're evaluating the yard. Hey, take a picture, look at this yard, and then dispatching to one of our clients and saying, hey, okay, I'm going to send somebody out to take. It's a scary, brave new world. I'm glad we're talking about it now, though.
Yeah, even our tree care customers. Like, I know there's apps out there right now that can look at the plant health
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to affect all industries. It's exciting time.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll leave you with a final poll here.
All right. What would you find most helpful after this webinar? We've already established, by the way, Derek, we're now on the hook for the Nerd Hour. It's done. Like it's in the chat. People are talking about it. It's probably viral already. So it's gonna come. So what would you find most helpful after this webinar? Follow up, more real life relevant AI examples I can talk about. Hey, I solved a plumbing issue too. It's happened twice. Deep dive into specific topics. Just wanted to learn. Looks like most people are here just for the knowledge. That's great. That's fantastic. That's why we're here too, is to share our knowledge. All right. So it looks like we're looking for more relevant examples, and people just wanted to learn. So good. We'll keep doing this. We'll keep pushing out content as much as possible. I think
in the spirit of learning, shall we just go over the key takeaways real quick?
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So like we said, searches will continue to get longer and more competitive. You'll need to create content depth and learn how to structure that content for the large language models to digest, all while building authority. Not an easy thing to do, but and then of course, being in the LLM training data, your brand needs to be visible and mentioned on authoritative sources. Easier said than done, but you do have the tools to be able to do that. Your website is the most important data source for AI and SEO. So SEO is absolutely not dead. LLMs need to be grounded with this accurate data as context. This is what RAG does. We're talking about Gemini doing that. We will have a webinar coming up about SEO is not dead, so I highly recommend you listen to that one when it comes up. The online marketing mix, no longer can we measure SEO success via vanity metrics like traffic. It's more so about your share of voice and leads, of course. And then brand building. If you really think about all of this, it's really about building a brand. If you continue to generate brand mentions, engagement, and positive PR across the internet, you're building an amazing brand, you're communicating your unique value, and you're optimizing for users on your website. Everything is going to be just fine. I don't know if we have time for questions, but I would love to hear any of them.
We are, you know what, we've done a pretty good job, I must say, of getting to the questions along the way, Derek. We've integrated them into. We've got a couple comments on, don't say please and thank you to AI. It's just burning up resources left and right. Right. They're building data centers everywhere as quickly, but it is an energy consumer. But it's great, as long as we can use them. I think we're probably at the end. If we do have any more questions, please email us. You're going to get an email within 30 minutes. Katie promised 30 minutes to get this recording out, get an email out, reach out to either one of us. If you are a Coalmarch customer, as always, we appreciate your business. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're not, no problem. Keep coming to the webinars. We're happy to teach everyone else. Again, like last time, I think we had a few of our competitors sneak in. You're welcome too. Everyone's here to learn. Derek, great. Thank you. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for presenting today. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We will keep an eye out. And as always, thank you all for paying attention, listening. Our next one, I think, is with Donnie Shelton. It's Donnie Shelton and me. I got to talk to Donnie. This is going to be great. We're going to learn a lot on that one too. That's June 5th. So if you haven't got the email, sign up for that one too. We look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you very much.
Ariel, thank you.